If you look the right way, you can see that the whole world is a garden. I'm Ange.
And I'm Steph.
We're Nerdazons.
We've got that down pat, BTW.
Yeah, but when we're together,
yes.
When it's on Skype, it doesn't turn out so
No,
good.
it does not.
We're like so bad at that.
Yes.
Also, I don't usually do the intro, so I feel really weird when I do it.
I know, you were very quiet when you were doing it.
Because I feel like, I don't know, you have so much energy and oomph when you do it. And
thanks.
And I don't. I just read it. Anyway, this month is The Secret Garden.
Month or fortnight?
Oh, fortnight.
I know.
I'm still not used to that. But this fortnight was my choice. It was The Secret Garden. It was something we were supposed to do last year, but as you all are aware, the film release for the remake was delayed due to COVID. So now that we're in 2021, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
We'll start with the 1993 version. I'll bring up the synopsis and I'll have a little read for you of what it says. A young girl, recently orphaned girl, is sent to England after living in India all of her life. Once there, she begins to explore her new, seemingly isolated surroundings and its secret.
I'm not going to yuck your yum.
Yep.
But I didn't like this movie, and I felt kind of bad because I know how much you loved this movie. And I was thinking, because we have completely different tastes.
We do,
in
but I love
movies.
that about us.
But I was like, no, do you know what? The past few that you've chosen are actually genuinely good movies. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna actually watch the entire movie.
Thank you.
And it was a little bit
Fair. Like, I totally understand. And I've tried people to get like friends to watch this in the past, and it doesn't click with a lot of people. But this is a film, I saw it as a young girl, and I've watched it many, many times. And I don't know, like from the moment I watched it, I was captivated. And there's something beautiful about this film I don't explain very well, but I'm going to try because I really want, maybe even if I get one viewer or listener out there to be able to convert and like it, then I'll be happy. If not, then I can express to you something that I see beautiful and maybe...
See, and I'm thinking like the fact that I get that you're very passionate, because I was very passionate about Call Me By Your Name, which...
But it's really good to watch you talk about it.
Yes.
Even though it's not my cup of tea, I love watching how passionate you get about it.
And seeing, like, because we've obviously discussed it prior to recording, and seeing you get passionate about it, I'm actually thinking of changing my opinion a little bit.
Just a
about
side note for everyone, we did actually record this and then had some technical issues, and we're now re-recording it. So, and I think I managed to sway Steph's opinion a little bit.
I think you did, absolutely.
Yeah. I think more so, I swayed you more so on appreciation of it being made.
So the first note that I made of this movie was, no wonder why Edge likes it. It is creepy AF.
Yeah, and like I find that so interesting because even as a kid, I never found it creepy. I saw it as a tragic beauty. That's the words I've been trying to look for this entire time. It's a tragic beauty, like, and I don't know why I find it beautiful. I never found it creepy, and I just find it...
Just the little kid, the cousin, and like when he was just sick and they were talking, and I was just like, please don't let them kiss, please don't let them kiss.
Yeah, there is a moment when he's like, I want to marry you, and she's like, we're cousins.
Yeah, I'm like,
and I was just like, oh, okay. But I think what it is he didn't love her. He loved the idea that he had someone there. Like he was only ever visited for his horrible medical appointments. He was always led to believe he was going to die, and then there was actually a friend. And it was the same for her. Like, and it's not so much a friend; it's more than that. They have family now, and the two of them were always so isolated. Like, the thing with this film, and when we were discussing earlier, there is such a depth to it that you really do need to watch multiple times, or you need to watch and then read up on it. But there is a depth to it that makes it so much more beautiful.
And I think this is a movie that I might have to watch more than once to pick up on little things, because I just, to me, found it very dark. And I understand that she's an orphan and that it is a dark, because it's building up to her, the tragedy and things like that. And I just, Martha, when she was creeping, she's like, you want to tickle you? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But the little girl was an amazing actress.
Yeah, and like, fun fact, she was not an actress. So the young kids, they were all like, I guess in Hollywood, you'd say no names because they hadn't acted before. And she was meant to go to a netball game that got cancelled. And because it was cancelled, she went and did the audition and she got the role that way. Yeah. And she's wearing a wig the whole way through.
What?
I know. I always loved her hair as a kid. I think because my hair was always short and I always wanted long, beautiful hair. And my hair's frizzy and curly and it's just like I always loved it. It always sat well. But yeah, it was a wig, no wonder.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
But, and then the other note I put was Maggie Smith.
Yes.
Oh,
So
McGonagall.
Yeah. So Maggie Smith was brought into this film because she just had like international sensation. So I think that would have been from Hook. They may have come
Which
out
I
at the
just
same time.
discovered today that she was in Hook.
Yeah, I know. We had a massive conversation about this, and I'm very shocked you didn't know she was in Hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is what brought her international success, and then they brought her in to boost the film, which perfect choice.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect choice. But let me bring up some of the things that I wanted to talk about this.
I don't have much to say because this is my first time, and I feel like I don't want to yuck your yum.
No, I think that's fair. And like, to be fair, I wrote a list of things that I wanted to express why I liked it.
Yes.
The biggest thing to me that I feel makes this film is the soundtrack. Now, I'm not going to butcher the name.
Would you like me to try?
Yeah, try.
Zbigniew Presnia.
Okay, I'm sure we didn't pronounce it right, but it's spelled Zbigniew, and then Presnia is Presiner. Okay, this soundtrack always captivated me as a kid, and even as a kid I was really into instrumentals. Like when Harry Potter came out and I was on like year 6, I used to go to the library, get the CD, record it onto tape because I had a little cassette player and I used to listen to it while I slept. So yeah, I always loved instrumentals, and this soundtrack alone expresses so much. Like, you don't need much dialogue in this film and it expresses so much. Like, I played one thing for Steph prior to it and it shows sadness, it shows a childlike wonder, it shows like a mystical element to it, it shows happiness. Like, it just expressed so much in a 1 minute and 30-second score.
Yes.
And to me, the soundtrack really does display so much, and it does so much for a lack of dialogue.
I was just bored in this movie because it does take a while to peak.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a film that's supposed to peak, and I can see why kids don't like it, or, you know, you might not really get into it. But my partner was saying to me, he's like, oh, maybe it's because you're watching it as an adult. But when I rewatched it as an adult, I still had the same emotional like tug that I would have when I was a kid. So to me, I know I'm still as connected to this, even if I'm older. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. And I feel like 1% of people like this or even know about it. Like, I think I tried to show 2 people when I was younger, and I gave up, and this became my little thing.
I get it, because, you know, I've got movies that are kind of like my comfort thing, and I love them so much that I'm scared to show other people because I'm scared that they're going to hate it.
Yeah, like I showed 2 people and it was never reciprocated. Like, I just never knew how to convey why this film, I love it so much. And I hope I do well when I'm trying to explain to you guys why I love it. I don't know what it is, but there is a beauty in this film that I love.
After talking to you about this, it's actually changed my opinion, and I think it's actually going to change my score.
Which we will get to.
We'll get to, obviously.
Yeah, we'll get to.
But there's some parts in the movie where I genuinely, moments where I was like heartbreak, or, you know, especially at the end when the dad and the cousin, and he's walking up, and then the daughters, the girl is just like, nobody wants me. And I think that connected to me a little bit because I was a bit of a loner growing up. I was, you know, always the weird kid. I was into, you know, nerdy stuff while other people were into like makeup and stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of was just like, oh, and then when she became the family, I had a few tears.
Yeah.
When they all had a hug and they're like, we're family now.
So one thing I really like about this film is the character stories. So you've got the 3, I mean, I was going to say Cravens, but they're not really Craven. She's Lennox, Mary Lennox, and then you got the Cravens. So you have 3 character stories, and even though like Lord Craven isn't in it that often, his few scenes of acting like really portray the emotional struggle that he's in. you know, he's going through the emotional trauma of losing the love of his life. And it actually shows, like, he looks like someone who has lost half of himself, you know, like you can actually see that in his acting. And then Colin, he is such an annoying little kid, as you mentioned, but like he's a perfect prime example of what it is like for an adult to push their fears onto their children, you know. So he was always led to believe that he was sick, he was going to die, he's not wanted, you know, because his dad doesn't come and see him. But that's his dad's fears getting pushed onto him, when really he was just a kid that needed room to grow. He was just a late bloomer that might have needed a little bit of extra care when he was younger to walk. So that's his development to be able to then grow into the man of himself. And then Mary's trauma is she doesn't know how to connect to her emotions. And especially as a child, like she doesn't know how to be a kid or how to have life and things like that.
Yes.
And what's beautiful is that their three stories intertwine and they each help each other accomplish that. Like you really see the full cycle of their story.
Yes.
And all the others are just like, they're there to help. So like Dickon is like a glow for Mary. When she first goes outside, it's all dark and gloomy. She's in full black, you'll see. And then he's, you know, in his white shirt, he's on a white horse. He's got quite fair hair. Like, so he really pops through the mist. And he's almost like a glow conscious, I guess, for her. And he helps her connect to nature.
Yes.
Which is really, really good. Because the nature is her key, her like connection to be able to heal herself as well. And as she mentioned, the garden wasn't wanted, so she connected to it in that way of like, I want the garden because the garden was an unwanted thing and she thinks she's unwanted. Martha, I know you didn't like her, but Martha was also a really important key for her to connect to her emotions. So Martha was a bubbly character. She was quite younger as well as opposed to the new one, so she was closer to her age. Unfortunately for Martha, she had to work because it was that time era, like you had to work younger. So she is helping Mary connect to be a young girl.
Although another thing that like just made me feel really uncomfortable was when she put her hands up and she's like, dress me. And then the Martha was just like, I'm just going to tickle you, and creeped me out. I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all. Even though it's meant to be innocent, I'm just like, nah.
Oh, I didn't get creeped out by that because I could see what Martha was trying to do. Because Martha, you know, is the one that tries to sort of laugh around her. Yes. She teaches her how to skip rope, laugh, giggle, things like that.
Yeah.
So Martha's really important for Mary's emotional journey.
Yes, I agree.
Let's get to Maggie Smith. So obviously we all love her.
Honestly, who doesn't?
If someone doesn't, then I'm like, who are you? Why are you here?
Exactly. Give me a valid reason.
Yeah. Maggie Smith was awesome. So you got to really see the full scope of Mrs. Medlock.
Yes.
Or Miss Medlock. I'm not sure if she was married. But anyway, you really see the full scope of it. So I think I was mentioning this to you earlier. She's really, really, you think she's the horrible, mean person. Like, I mean, back then they were probably really strict and they didn't want to fuss over you. But like, throughout the majority of the film until the very end, you see Mrs. Medlock in the portrayal of a child's eyes. So she's mean, she locks you up, she's doing like horrible medical treatments. But at the end, this is how great Maggie Smith is. At the end, she acts it in a way that you're seeing her as an adult.
Yes.
Like through adult eyes of like, I was just doing what I thought was best for your, you know, your son's sick. I thought I was helping him. I thought I was helping her. And you really actually feel for her when she cries. And it's like, but you've been so mean this whole time, but I actually feel sorry for you.
Yes, I agree. And when she's like, I'm just going to give my resignation, I was like, but you tried your best.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though you were horrible, you still tried your best.
That's what I mean. Like throughout the whole thing, you're seeing her through a kid's eyes of like the mean person who's stopping me from going outside. But then when you see her as through the adult's eyes, it's like, you really were just trying to do your best. You thought he was a sick kid, so you thought you were doing well, you know? And that's what I mean through character development. It's just so deep. And back to Lord Craven, he really, in the short scenes that he was at, like when he sees Mary for the first time, and you only see him like, I think for like, not even 30-second scene. Yeah. And he like stumbles over and his amazement at her, it's believable.
Yes.
I feel in this one, you really do connect with all of the characters. And that's what makes the ending scene so emotional. One last thing I want to say about the characters. The girl who plays Mary, I know some people don't really like her, but I was always drawn to her. I feel like she was the right element of attitude, the right element.
Innocence?
Yeah, like, so you can tell she was a little, moody girl, but she didn't know how to, like, that's how she expressed her emotions.
Yeah.
But I feel like she wasn't peak attitude. It was like, oh, I understand, yes, it's the 1800s, you did have someone dress you wouldn't know how to dress, so I get that. And then, like, I feel like she learnt very quickly that, like, this attitude's not going to fly very fast. And then slowly, as you move on through the film, I really like, you'll see the little smirks on her face, and it just looked so cute, and like such a bright sort of little smile, even if
you saw a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, and it was only the tiniest little smirk, like when she's like, I never had a friend before, and she said that to Robin, and the little smile. I feel like, I don't know if it's the lighting when they recorded it, but when you look at it, her and the Robin look really, really bright in a bleak background of a, misty, dank garden. But those two look so bright with just that little smile. So it's really good on camera angles of that.
Mm-hmm. I had a bit of a tear jerk when they're playing the game and he's blindfolded and he's walking up and he's like feeling his dad's face. At first I was like, take your blindfold off. Well, like, you're not a blind person. Why are you feeling like that? But then after talking to you, I'm like, oh, actually, because he didn't want to take it off because he didn't want to be disappointed if it wasn't his dad.
Yeah, so he's like, his dad's not been there his like whole life, never sees him, so he probably doesn't even really know what his dad looks like. And like, you thought you had magic and you wished for your dad to come, and to feel that, you're probably like, he's probably scared at first of like, oh my gosh, is it him? If I take it off, he might not be there. Like, is it just a figment of your imagination? That's why he connects so much.
Yes.
And like, it's just, and I love Colin's character journey as well. Like, to go from a stuck-up, spoiled kid who just, wants to die. Like, he was so ready to accept that, to be able to be like, I can go outside. I'm going to try and learn. I love being in the garden, Just, this film really does have a beautiful message that children's love and children's kindness can really heal adult scars. It just shows you the trauma that Lord Craven went through really affected everyone. And to have her come in, heal Colin, and then the two of them healed the rest of it. And then it's also teaching kids about nature and life and to connect with yourself, which I really love. Like, it's a deep film, and as a kid I don't think I saw it all, but it is a deep film that no matter how much you watch it, you will see these messages come through.
Yes.
I have a few little fun facts for this film.
Fine, steal my thunder, even though I haven't really had any fun facts lately, so okay, I'll allow it.
So Maggie Smith was nominated for a BAFTA for this role as supporting actress. Francis Ford Coppola was also the producer of this one.
Who's he?
So he did the Godfather films, Dracula, Apocalypse Now, Jeepers Creepers. So he's
No
well
way.
known. Yeah, very well known. And he did the producer for this one. In the book, her parents don't die from an earthquake. They actually die from a cholera epidemic, which is more historically accurate. So there was an epidemic across India in 1817 to 1820. Don't know why they decided to change that. Also interesting, which I never knew because I never read the book, but Mary's mum, she wasn't a twin sister. So it was either her dad was related to Colin's mum or vice versa. Colin's dad was related to her mum. It's one or the other. I think it was her dad was related to his mum. So they weren't like twin sisters. But I think the twin sister twist was good. It connected it a bit more.
I didn't hear that. I didn't see that coming,
Yeah.
That the reason why he felt disconnected from her was because he reminded her of his wife, and
Yeah. It's beautiful. It is. Also, it's amazing how a simple shot of just the wind blowing and some leaves picking up can make something eerie and creepy.
Yeah.
Around the swing, and when she's going into the mum, like her aunt's room and stuff, it really adds a creepy twist, and it's such a simple sort of shot to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I really like that. I find that beautiful, but people find it creepy. I don't know if you had this, but I always thought Lord Craven reminded me of Gabriel Byrne's D'Artagnan in Man in the Iron Mask. From the three, like he was the Three Musketeers.
Oh my god! Is that not him?
No, it's not him.
But
his hair looks the same. He's probably the same wig, but I always thought it was him.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Gabriel Byrne in Man in the Iron Mask, right?
Now I need to look
Okay,
at
I'm
this.
going to Google this as well.
I love Men in the Iron Mask. It's such a trashy film, but it's peak Leo.
Yeah, it was Gabriel Byrne. I was right. Yeah, but he always reminded me of him.
Yes.
It's so weird, but yeah, I always thought that as a kid because I think I had both of them on VHS. So yeah, I had weird VHS as a kid.
What did I have? I had so many VHSs as well. Like, Mum and I just moved and Mum's now living with me. And as she was cleaning out her house, she found Thomas the Tank Engine VHS done by Ringo Starr.
Yeah. Haven't you seen them?
They're like worth a mint now.
I should find my old ones.
Yeah, I just gave them to the op shop. I'm like, no.
I should find my old ones. Well,
Yes.
everything got boxed up, but there's a few still in the cupboard. Back to the thing. Did you know that the garden was the biggest challenge for this film? So it's completely constructed.
Legit.
Yeah. So they didn't just like film parts in different areas. They actually built that entire secret garden, and it was built in the back of like a churchyard. And they did it because they didn't want to have to deal with complex winter and summer shoots. Obviously, flowers bloom at different times of the year, and then they'd have to go to different gardens. So they built it and constructed it. So I think that's where the bulk of the... Actually, I think I read somewhere that it was $100,000 to build. But in the 90s, yeah. So they completely built that
Wow.
garden. Yeah. It's
That's really interesting.
And I mean, like, kudos to the Hort team. Like, that would have taken a lot to have to maintain as well as build. So,
Yes.
yeah, I thought that was a really good twist to it. The costume design is beautiful. Like, when you
actually,
see...
it is quite
Yeah,
beautiful.
like, they really did well for the costumes. Like, when you watch her get dressed in the beginning and to see the detail in the lace, like, I don't know if you noticed this, but when her maid puts, like, her stockings on...
Yes.
This is in India.
This is so beautiful, and they have the little like buttons.
But it has an M and an L on each stocking, so Mary Lennox. So yeah, like I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't notice the M and the L, but I was like, oh, how beautiful are the stockings?
Yeah.
And I did notice that.
Even the lace design across like her collar and like down near her elbows, it was just gorgeous.
Yes, absolutely.
Like it looked real, like
Yeah.
as close to
Yes.
what you could get in that time. It was just stunning. But also back on costumes, at the end of the film, you know when she runs away and she's crying, it looks like summer that they're filming in or spring, but it was actually winter and she was shivering because she was in a really light lace dress. I know,
Wow.
unfair. So, like, when you think she's crying, she's actually shivering. I went back and rewatched it, and I'm like, yeah, I can see now that she's shivering. Poor little girl. All the guys are in their pants and jackets, and she's shivering. But yeah, interesting, hey.
It was really interesting.
Also, back to Maggie Smith, did you know that there are 2 actresses that have played Wendy Darling in a Peter Pan film? My favourite Disney.
No, or wait, no. All I know is
Nah.
Hook.
But after I told you that that was Maggie Smith,
Yeah, I know that blew my mind.
and the fact that the younger version in Hook was Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, that's like blowing my mind. I need to rewatch Hook now.
Yeah. So
Rufio.
So yeah, she played Wendy in Hook, and then Kate Maberly, who plays the young Mary Lennox in the Finding Neverland film with Johnny Depp and Kate Winslet.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I watched it once, didn't really get into it, and I love Peter Pan, and I watched pretty much most of the adaptations. But so that film is about how Peter Pan was written. And then towards the end, they end up doing like a play production, and she plays Wendy in the play production of
wow.
that film. Did I ever tell you about the time that Dante Basco, who played Rufio, was down here and I saw him at a convention? So you know my bomber cosplay. So I was in a
Yes.
massive fat suit. I had like wig, bald spot, everything.
We need to post that. We need to post the photo of you in that. That was incredible.
I'll find it and I'll post it.
I think that was like the year that we went to Comic-Con together because we'd just become friends.
Yes. Yeah. And I think we split and then came back and split and then came back for different things.
I think the year after was the year you and your friend were the 2 from Misfits.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, you need to post that.
So with that, I really wanted to see Dante Basco because I also am a massive Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. Before it went on like Netflix, I watched it as a kid, and I really wanted to see him. And
Does he do a voice in that?
He's Zuko.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway.
So I wanted to see him and get either my Hook DVD signed or that. But anyway, long story short, I spent all my money on something else and I couldn't go and get his autograph. So we were walking around and then I randomly got like, can I get your photo? And then when I looked up, it was him and I swore like crazy. I'm like, no fucking way. And my eyes just popped. And I have big eyes, so they just went even bigger. And then I slapped my friend and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then he was so freaked out. Like, you know when you freak out and you're like, you kind of hunch your shoulders in and he's, so can I get a photo? And we're like, yeah, of course. And then we stood there and got a photo. I followed him for like, well, I already follow him, but like I checked daily to see if he posted that photo. And then I think he just must have been freaked out because he never ended up posting the picture of my costume. I felt so bad. I'm like, oh, what a horrible like interaction.
Did I tell you the time that I met Jason Momoa and what happened?
No.
So it was
actually, I didn't even know you met Jason Momoa.
When Game of Thrones had first come out.
Right, yeah.
And it was at a Comic-Con. And I was like, oh my God, Jason Momoa, he's a babe. So I lined up, got a photo with him, and I was lining up to get to hug him for the photo. And I actually stood on his foot, and he's like, that really hurt, ow. And my heart just sank. And I thought I don't know, the worst thing had happened, like I'd broken his foot, and I don't know. And I'm like having a panic attack. My face had gone red. I started getting like tears in my eyes. And he's like, just joking. And then he hugged me. We had this photo, and I was like, I wanted to like punch him and just be like, you're a bastard.
But that's funny though. That's a great experience to have.
And then one of my other favorite experiences, is the day that we met at the Doctor Who convention. Yep. And what happened was I was meeting Matt Smith, and I was dressed as the Doctor and had my bow tie and everything, and we were going for a photo, and I said, oh, can we do duck face? He's like, what's that? So I did duck face, and he's like, oh, pretty face. I said, yeah, pretty face. And then as we were about to get the photo, he's like, stop. And I went, what? And he's like, your bow tie's not straight. So he fixed my bow tie up for me, and I'm like, thanks, Dad. And he's like, you're welcome. And then we had the photo. It was like super awkward after that. I'm like, thank you.
That's so cute.
That's so cute that he like fixed my bow tie.
I like that. A little bit off topic now.
That's not like us at all. We never get off topic.
That's okay. I want to mention, do you know what budget this film had?
Nah, I'm going to say like, I don't know, $10 million or something.
So they had $18 million budget, but guess what profit they made?
20?
No, they actually made 31.2 million profit from an 18
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's huge. Yeah. Even for the 80s, 90s, that's huge.
Yeah, early 90s.
That's awesome.
So it's a big budget. So, and like one last thing I want to mention on this one is I love symbolism. I really do. And when you watch it, it's so dark. Like when you watch She's in Black, the grounds look muddy and dank and dirty, and it like the sun's not there. And then as the film progresses, you see she moves to white dresses, the garden's bright and beautiful, and I just really love it. And I hope I've explained it right.
I think I will watch it again, and I think I'm getting a new appreciation for this film.
Good.
Yes.
Good. That's all I ask, is just a second look.
Absolutely. I might
How many movie reels do you give this one?
Okay, I'm gonna give it 2.5.
Nice. I actually thought you would have like shit on it and give it like a 0.5.
No. But just talking to you, I'm realizing that it is actually a beautiful movie, and because I did only watch it once for the podcast, and I was just thinking, oh, it's one of Angie's movies.
That's what I think when I watch yours. Like it's Steph's choice.
I'm just gonna watch it because I have to.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It just took a while for me to get into
slow.
it.
It's a slow burn. Yes. I do get that. I would give this a 4.5. I've expressed just how much I love it. Yeah, and I don't think like the only thing is I do understand it's slow. But I feel like everything else outweighs it, and it's just a really deep and beautiful film that you do have to like just really look and listen to it. And I would suggest watching it on your own so you can fully take it in if you do decide to watch this one.
Should we move on to the next movie?
Let's move on to the new one. The 2020 Secret Garden.
This is not surprising that we're not liking the remakes lately.
Yeah, well, okay, to be fair, I wouldn't have ever watched this film if I didn't want to show people just how much I love the original.
Yes, I would not have
and
watched
I know
it at all.
that like people like I don't know if I'm doing this justice, but I know not many people like The Secret Garden, but I just wanted to show, I don't know why I love it and why I find it so beautiful, but I just wanted to show people that beautiful film that's out there. And since the remake came out, I'm like, good, this is an option. I can make people watch this film now.
Oh no, I had to watch it.
But
Poor me.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone else is going to listen to this, hopefully, because I really love that film, and I hope you guys can see why it's good. But let's move on to this next one. I'll read you the synopsis.
Please.
An orphan girl discovers a magical garden hidden at her strict uncle's estate. Okay, do you want to go first before I have my rant?
I think we're both on the same page.
Yep.
In fact, I know we're on the same page.
Yep.
This, to me, is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I watched it to completion. You'd be proud that I actually watched it to completion.
Yes, you can't review something you haven't seen.
I know. And it took so long to get into.
Yeah.
I feel like the actors were just doing it because nothing had come out in 2020.
Yep.
Everything else had been pushed through. We got to get some money somehow. Let's just act and do this job. It felt very scripted.
Yeah.
It felt very, I don't know. It did not connect with me. I fell asleep.
Yep.
And it was very CGI filled.
Yes.
Which I didn't like because
either.
it lost its innocence there.
Yep.
And even Colin Firth.
Firth, yes.
I'm always getting those confused. Colin Firth was terrible, and
Yep.
he aged so much. And he even like everything about it. I did not like anything about this movie.
Yeah.
I don't have anything positive to say.
Well, I have noticed when we do watch remakes, we do always tend to lean to the originals, but I do try to look for good things about the remakes. Even if I may not like the overall film, I try to find some positives. But let's start at the beginning. It already was different. They had shifted it to 1947. I do not know why they changed it. Like, what would make the difference? What you think you can connect to younger
She cried
audiences?
straight away.
Correct. So her personality was already different. Like, you changed it. I don't think shifting it to 1947 is going to connect to younger audiences. It's no difference. You know, yeah, she cried straight away. There was one part of symbolism I really did like, and that was when she let go of the doll. It was like letting go of your childhood.
I was just like, what a little brat throwing. Like, I understand that thought that she's meant to be throwing her innocence away, all that kind of stuff. But I just was like, why is she throwing her doll in the water? Like, what an idiot! Like,
yeah, but she was told by the boy, "I'm not a child." So to her, I think she thought, "I need to grow up." That scene would have been more powerful
if it was acted better.
Correct. Yeah. So like throughout the rest of the film, she became really bratty. Like when I was saying before about Mary in the original, like Kate Haberle, she had the right amount of attitude that didn't make her seem bratty. Just you can tell she was going through something, and that's why, you know, you were sidestepping around her a little bit. But she was quick to realize and change her moods. Like even when she spoke to the Robin in the original one, like when she first said, "Show me the door," like he flies away, but then when she's like, "Can you please show me the door?" Like she knew that she was wrong.
Yes.
Whereas in this one, she just seemed so bratty. Like when she stomped her foot on the ground, I was so angry at that. I was just like, what is this? Like,
I was just like, how dare you?
And I understand in the early 1800s, like 1817, if you were of higher society, of course you wouldn't know how to dress yourself. You had people dress you. But like in 1947, it's like nearly the 1950s, most kids knew how to dress, even if you were a socialite or not. So that didn't come across that she needed someone to dress her at all. And they didn't even continue to execute that, you know, like slowly Mary in the original would try her shoes, or she would put her jacket on, or things like that. Whereas in this one, it's just like, you don't need to dress me today. Oh, cool, you grew up, but I didn't see the rest of that character journey of you learning to do things yourself. So yeah, she already was wrong in that instance. I thought I would have had high hopes for Julie Walters and Colin Firth because I really do love the two of them in a lot of the films they do. Not executed at all. Like, he came across as such a surly character. Like, he was very different to Lord Craven in the original. Like, with Lord Craven, you can see the torment and like a legit broken heart.
Yes.
Like you could see that in his face. In this one, he just seemed like an angry old man. And I couldn't connect with him. Like I didn't feel the heartache that Lord Craven had in the original one.
No. And the whole fire scene, oh my God, that was like completely pointless to me. There was literally no point to that.
There was absolutely no need to add that. And since we're talking about things that there was no need to add, there is no need for Jemima, although that dog was the best actor in the entire film.
Yeah.
I can understand having Jemima because it was a bigger acreage. So when you see her running through the forest, it is a massive property. And I can understand having a dog because running around and having a dog follow, yeah, I get that. And the point of the Robin was that Robin was her first friend. And she even said, I never had a friend before. So Jemima would have replaced that. Then don't add the Robin. I feel like they added the Robin to catch the older generation that grew up watching it.
Yeah.
You know, have one or the other. And it was such a terrible CGI Robin. You know, like I feel like their story was not necessary, and especially the fact that Jemima got injured was not necessary. Like, the Robin was there to show her into the garden and to be a friend to, like, it was a guiding point to get her to where she needed to be able to develop herself as a character. And she's the one that developed, not needing a story for Jemima.
That reminds me, so there is a website called, it's called Does the Animal Die?
Yep.
And what you do is you put any movie in it and it tells you whether or not the animal dies or whether or not there's animal cruelty, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't look at this movie because I wasn't expecting that.
Neither
and that just like,
that was the most emotion I felt watching this. And the whines was so real. I was listening and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch this. Please,
that got me thinking about animal cruelty and all that kind of stuff and how animals are in movies. Because do you remember, have you ever seen Milo and Otis?
Yes. And none of my friends know about that.
Milo and Otis was an amazing film. However, I can never watch it ever again.
Why?
Because I went on the Do They Die?
Yeah.
And they actually, because back in the 80s, they didn't really care about animals. And they went through like 16 cats and like 8 or 9 dogs.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I can't watch that again.
And so that's why I can never watch that ever again.
So I think I've mentioned this in the past. I'm going to step just a little bit here. So the reason I think a lot of my films that I watched when I was younger was different is because you remember you used to get the little Reader's Digest magazines. On the back of it, you used to fill out like a form and you can order like a movie selection of that month or something. Yeah. That's how I got the original BBC Narnia series. There were 4 of them made, and I watched that before the new film had come out.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We should do that. I love the Narnia series.
Yeah, like the classic to the remake. Although I know a lot of people are going to like the new one. Even I would have to say I do like it. Because it was really bad, the BBC one. But off topic. In this one, I got The Secret Garden, a movie called A Little Princess, which again, that is another really beautiful story. But
I don't think I've seen that one.
No one knows about it. Like, these are films that no one really knows about, but they are really good hidden gems. And Black Beauty was in it.
Oh, I love
Obviously, The Secret Garden was my favourite one to play, but yeah, so that film was so traumatic to watch as a child.
I remember because at my sister's house, every Friday night's movie night, and the kids get to choose a movie. And my sister's like, oh, can we watch Neverending Story?
Oh
like,
my God,
please.
I love that movie.
So I was down there and I watched it with them. I'm like, yes. That movie is so heartbreaking. Sad. And then I was saying goodbye. I was saying goodnight to my little niece and she's crying her eyes out. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, that movie broke me.
Yeah, it broke all of us, sweetie.
Yeah, I know, sweetheart.
I know.
And she's like, you're never choosing a movie again.
But in a way, though, I hate to say it, but in a way, seeing things like that, even in, like when Mufasa died in Disney, like I feel like that is a good introduction for kids to that topic. Like when you watch the Pet Sematary original one, and this pissed me off so bad when I went back and rewatched it. We are so going to do a film on it, like a review.
I'm scared.
But like the mother wanted to hide her daughter from like that topic, which is why like everything messed up, because she didn't want her to know what had happened to her cat, and they kept lying about it, or the cats will live forever. It's like, just have that talk with them. Yeah. But I feel like that's where Disney did help a bit. Yeah. To like at least make kids aware that that is a topic of life. But anyway, off topic, back to, I have to say, in this one of my biggest pet peeves of this, and this is so ironic because for a film about, you know, a hidden magic and so much magic within it, it really lost the magic of the film.
Oh, Hundo P.
Like I didn't like seeing the random magic bits throughout it, like where, you know, in her eyes she sees, like she looks back on India, or in her eyes she sees like her mum or her aunt walking a horse. I didn't like any of that. It wasn't necessary. Like the original film was able to portray the heartache and to be able to repair it without needing to add ghosts.
Yeah, it literally, this movie just did nothing for me.
They really, really lost the mark with it. Let's talk about characters. Martha and Dickon, completely wrong to what they were. Like, Martha was a really dull personality in this one. She had no spark. Yep. And like I was saying before, like Martha in the original, I know she creeped you out with the tickle scene, but her personality was supposed to help Mary connect to her being that little girl. You know, like play skip rope or laughing at things. And like, this Martha didn't do any of that. She had no personality. She didn't help Mary connect to any of her emotions. It's like, one thing I noticed in this one, Mary's character journey was completely gone. Mary in this one was the catalyst to make her uncle and her cousin have their character journey. And it's like, you lost all of her journey completely. You know, she was the one that had to fight to get Colin outside because he didn't want to leave. Which is another point, he had way too much like protest to going outside or playing with her. He kept pushing her out of the room or locking her out. And it's like, that's not what he wanted. He wanted that connection, you know? And like, she had to do that and she had to get her uncle outside.
I have a confession to make.
What?
I fell asleep during some of this movie.
I know you did.
I got so bored of it and I was just like, it was just, to me, the original went flat and then it peaked, and then it went a little bit flat and then it peaked again. You know, but this one was just from very beginning was flat and just. I was so bored, and especially because I know that it is made for kids. However,
I don't see how kids can connect to
They would be so bored in this movie. Yeah.
Like, if anything, it's like, I hate to say it, I don't like to get into that, but you're teaching kids, you know, Mary, it's your job to fix your uncle and your cousin.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I loved the original. As little portrayal as it had, there were 3 intricate stories, character stories that needed to develop, and the 3 of them did it. You know, like, Mary needed to develop in her own way, which then helped Colin develop, and Colin's development helped Craven's development. You know, like, they were entwined delicately. In this one, she had no development. All it was she didn't want to get sent away, and the only way she could do that is by fixing the other 2.
Even when she was in like the orphanage and stuff, in the original, I was like, this is heartbreaking, you know, getting on the train and being like, oh, yep, you're here. That would have, like, how were you not left. Broken and getting left? And then this one being in the orphanage, I just did not care in this movie.
Yeah. It was a big miss for,
I don't care.
For connecting to characters, but they really messed up her story, Mary's story. Martha and Dickon were very different. Like, Dickon was meant to be Mary's connection to nature, and I feel he didn't do that. She was already running through there, and she's the one that took him into the garden, you know? Like, there was no connection. Like, his role was useless.
I'm making a sour face because I just don't care about this movie. You're agreeing with
me. Because like, his role was null and void. And then let's just get to the very last character I want to talk about, Mrs. Medlock. You cut a lot of her scenes out of this one to really understand why she was a sour person. In this one, you just see her as like nasty comments towards Mary, you know, but you don't see the rest of her story to fully, like with Maggie Smith, we really like, oh, she was the mean person, but then we really connected with her because we understood why she was doing what she was doing. Whereas this one, she's just been a nasty person of like, oh, geez, you're a sour thing, aren't you? Like, but you didn't see the rest of her job, so you couldn't connect with her. Exactly. She was just there in the background.
Exactly.
I didn't, and the very last thing I want to talk about.
Sure.
Did not connect at all when Colin and Lord Craven met.
Oh, I was just like, cool story, bro. I don't care.
It was not emotional. I had no heartstrings pull.
No.
I think it would have been better if Dickon was standing, not walking to him. Like, to me, it wasn't heart hitting.
Nah.
I feel like they took the magic out of this one.
I agree.
And they went over the top with CGI. They added characters that didn't need to be in it. They butchered characters' stories in the original one that really makes it difficult to connect to.
I agree.
So this one actually had a budget of 20 million.
Oh.
So it had 2 million more than the other one. Guess how much profit it made?
Like 5 million?
No, close. It made 7.9.
Oh.
So,
it was close.
So this one had 2 million more.
Yeah.
And it made like 20 something less. That's quick math for me. Don't quote me on that. But the original...
Because we all know maths is both of our strong suits.
Yeah, totally. But the original made 31.2 million profit. Like, that just shows you...
Yep.
Like, I'm trying not to hate it.
Oh, no, I hate this movie with a passion. I think I hate this movie.
I will never watch it again.
More than the remake of Psycho. I think I hate this movie, even though I didn't finish it. I hate this movie more than Ghost in the Shell.
I'd rather sit through the remake of Psycho over that Secret Garden any day.
Yeah.
And it's not just because we're adults. Like I said, I had the same reaction, and I still feel that like that 93 version is so beautifully tragic and like just beautiful and heartwarming, and I don't know why I love it so much.
I'm not poo-pooing it because
it was just poorly done. It was executed
a kids' movie or whatever. Exactly. We all know I like artsy-fartsy films. I'm happy to watch a movie that doesn't have much action in it, but it's got to be a really bad film for me to legit fall asleep.
It has to have a solid story. Yes. And to recreate this story, they butchered it.
100%.
Like,
I agree.
I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to rebirth it or recreate it, but you really abolished the actual story itself.
Yeah, nah.
How many movie reels do you give this one?
0.
I give it a 0.
Yeah.
I would never watch it again.
Nah.
And I feel, to me, watching it builds so much hate because I have so much love for and I don't know why I love it, and I hope you guys understand, and I really hope I've tried to explain why it's so good, but I just
understand
cannot.
That you love this film because like I said, I love some films that nobody's ever heard of, and that they like, if anybody watched them, they'd be like, I have no idea why. Yeah. I can't think of one on the top of my head right now, but yeah. I get it.
I'm glad you get that. But
I'm really interested to know if anybody out there did like the remake.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some who weren't familiar with the story, and I think because...
Or if you watched this one first.
Yeah, because I think the 93 one was as close to the book as it can be done, and the changes that were made weren't drastic. Like when I was reading up on a lot of reviews, and the book one day I will read, but when I was reading up on a lot of views, the book and the 93 version hold to each other. So,
yes. I mean, I'm interested to read the story one day. I might,
Yeah, I definitely will read it one day. Let's move to how many, what do you think the 93 version got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to guess like 62%, because it's not a very known film. I mean, it did get, like you said, it did have a huge budget. It did get most of its money back. But I'm going to say 63. 62, 63.
Wrong.
Higher or lower?
Higher.
I'm going to guess like 82%.
Close.
Oh.
It got 88.
That's not bad.
That's above average.
Yeah.
So it's not just me that thinks this film is great.
No, that's awesome.
What do you think The Secret Garden got in the 22 version?
12%.
I hope it got
I didn't
12.
even just...
I wanted to get like 12%.
12%.
But unfortunately, no, it got higher.
Oh, much higher?
Yeah. I don't like this.
Like
I really
60%?
Yeah, very close. 66. I know, it did not deserve that.
I think a bit of a bit of myself just died because it's such a terrible...
Sometimes, like, when I look at the scores, I shake my head and wonder how.
Yes.
Like, I don't understand.
Yes.
It's like, to me, I feel like when a film is really bad, I feel like people haven't done the research of where that film has come from and watched the original source to understand how far it deviates. And, like, we don't always rate remakes down. Like, we do have some remakes that we think were really, really good.
Yes.
It's just whether or not it's executed well.
Yes,
and this was
I
not.
agree.
So
I agree.
unfortunately, that's just our review. But
Okay.
shall we move on to
Nerdazons Nerdy Notables. This is so good that we can get this straight. All you did was looked at me and I went boom, boom. Yep.
Yeah, but we tried that on Skype and it's really bad.
Yes.
You just can't keep up with me. I don't know why.
I apologise for previous episodes that had to be on Skype, but COVID, hotspots.
Yeah.
Boo.
We'd rather be safe, so.
Exactly. So what's going on with you?
Not much. I've been playing my Switch lately, and I finally finished a game that I wanted to play for a few years, but I never had like a computer to play on, and that's Bendy and the Ink Machine. It's like a horror thriller game.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really fun. I really liked it.
I would be scared.
It was creepy at first, but then like as soon as the game sort of kicked in, like, so how it happened is there's 5 chapters and each chapter was released on its own, and then when I obviously played it, I got the game together in one, so I didn't have to wait. But yeah, the first chapter was creepy, but then after that I didn't really, like, the jump scares weren't there or anything like that, but it was really fun and I'm really glad I finally got to play it. And
Cool.
the fan music and fan artwork are spectacular for that, so that's really it for me.
I just discovered, I'm a bit late to the game, but 90 Day Fiancé.
Ugh.
It's so trashy.
It is so you.
But it is, when I get home from work, you know, all I want is just trash.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I love it. It's so good. So it's about, in America, if you want to have somebody living from another country living in the US, you have to have a K1 visa. So you've only got 90 days for them to live in another country with you. You have to legally be married within that 90 days, otherwise they get deported back.
Right.
And you can only apply for a K1 visa twice in your lifetime.
Wow.
So I've just finished the season where there was a 68-year-old and a 19-year-old. And his daughter was 21.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh no,
Yep.
that's disgusting.
Yep.
How can you think that is?
And he's like, yeah, I've been
Acceptable.
looking for younger women. I know, it was gross.
Oh yuck.
But oh my gosh, it's so good. Just trash.
I don't know. Like, I really don't get into trashy. Like, my mind numbing stuff is usually all the adult cartoons I really watch, like Archer or South Park. But like, I really love like design shows. I can't deal with poison people anymore.
I get it.
Like, when I used to be at my godmother's house and I used to stay there, she liked some trashy TV just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes you'd watch like the Real Housewives of...
I can't do that.
They are such bitches. And I just can't deal with
The
poison
only
people
other
anymore.
trashy show I love is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, okay. I love RuPaul's Drag Race, but there's a craft element in it that I
Exactly.
really appreciate.
Exactly, that's absolutely
but I
right.
just can't deal with cattiness or poison people anymore, so I just don't watch them. Yeah. So, next month,
we have a special guest, but we're not going to tell you who it is. FYI, it is not Maz.
yeah,
So next month we are doing a Mulan, the
Animated
Disney versus the live action.
live action. Yep.
And so if you do like us, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. You can like and follow us on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
And if you want our new merch,
Yes.
you can look up on Redbubble Craftcaster.
Cast.
And you can also follow them
on Facebook or Instagram. Beautiful artwork, so do show some support. We really, really love this shirt design, and hopefully we'll have some more come through later, so do check that out on Redbubble. And then lastly, you can send us an email at nerdazons@outlook.com. But that's it. We'll see you in the next month.
Okay, fortnight.
Next fortnight, yes. We'll see you next
Until
fortnight.
then, bye.